right, so it's weird we're not getting anybody watching anymore. Maybe they'll watch it all at a different time or something like that asynchronously. But to continue where we left off last time, actually, I covered all the basics of PHP that I wanted to. So I was planning on doing an exercise today instead. And I was preparing for this exercise when, lo and behold, I went to the CS50 IDE, and if you've seen it lately, we've got this message that they are sunsetting the CS50 IDE. It's going away. It was always an AWS service. I think it was a Docker instance on the AWS server, but it's okay because they're replacing it with VS Code. That's Microsoft's Visual Studio Code. I'm just going to close this. So if you see that message, I only saw this message like 10 minutes before class, so I only had a chance to play with it and make sure that the basic packages are there. But if you follow that link from the CS50, I still have this CS50 IDE up here just in case. But I thought we'd play with our new toy today and check this out. And by the way, Visual Studio has had a web browser-based development environment for a while. And in fact, at least for maybe almost a year, what you could do is you could go to GitHub, since Microsoft bought GitHub. You could go to any repository. In fact, here, let me go to Computer Science 1 here, the C Lab 1 from last year. And all you have to do is hit period. And guess what? It launches Visual Studio in that repository, whether it's your repository or not. So it's been a feature that's been out there for a while, at least maybe a year or so on GitHub. And now the CS50 folks at Harvard, is it? Yeah, Harvard CS50 have decided to move over to the Visual Studio instance. I believe that this is technically like Cloud 9 or something, is what the product is called. And it's hosted by Amazon Web Services, paid for by Harvard, and we're piggybacking on them. So now we can piggyback on a different thing here. So what I was planning on doing was taking last year's final, or last semester's final, I guess, and let's just do it in PHP. So just for those who didn't take it, or yeah, go ahead.
This is on the first assignment, isn't it? Are you doing a different part?
No, the final is not on the first. FizzBuzz is there. I wasn't going to do FizzBuzz, but I was going to do the Scott Frost. We actually won in 1997. You might be thinking about the win percentage. That was the midterm. From last year. Yeah.
No, that was the final. Yeah.
Oh, nope. It was definitely the midterm, because this is the final. I just pulled this up. Say what?
I feel like I remember it.
I was saying that, like, oh, it says that it's the final.
Yeah. Anyway, to remind you of what it looked like, basically, Scott Frost wants us to generate a report that looks something like this, where we've got a team, their win-loss record, their percentage win-loss record, but then the point difference. That's the number of points that they scored in all of their games, minus the number of points that were scored against them in all their games, and then the difference there. This shows all this data was actual data from 1997, the NCAA season. You see Nebraska and Michigan there. They shared the championship back then. And that's because they were both undefeated, but they never actually played each other. If we had the national playoff system now, they would have played each other at some point maybe, and then one of them would have been the undisputed championship. In this case, we just have to go off the stats, like who would have won if they had actually played. Anyway, I thought I had the files up, but apparently I didn't. Let's see, let's go to assignments, E2 to students. There we go. All right, so here are the actual files. Here's a CSV file containing all the games, and here's the CSV file containing all of the teams. So since this is a new toy, we have to cross our fingers and hope that this works. As in, can I drag and drop files onto this IDE and expect that they are uploaded? Hey, cool, it works. So there's they're the games, they're the teams, right? So here are all the teams. They all have UUIDs associated with them. That's a unique ID, comma, and then the actual team name. So Georgia Tech, Indiana State, et cetera, Ball State, et cetera. There are 146 teams. Now, not all 146 teams are, not every single team is represented for every single game here because not all of them were Division I games. Of course, we still play, you know, bad teams at the beginning to make ourselves feel better about having at least a few wins. Anyway, there are 145 teams here. The first line tells you exactly how many lines you read for the rest of the file. We're going to have to process that and come up with teams. Here are the games. The games are there are 642 games in this data set. The first one is the UUID. That's the ID of the team, the home team, I think. And then this is the away team. And this is the number of points that they scored. And this is the number of points that the away team scores. So, for example, this one, the away team won because they scored 41 points to their 0 points. They were shut out. Right? Now let's just make sure. What was the format? Let's see. So the team of so it's the away team and then the home team. Right? That makes more sense because the home team is usually listed second anyway, no matter what. Right? So away team, the UUID, the away team's final score, the home team UUID, and then the home team's final score. Okay? So let's produce a table that looked like this. And note here that we are going to be filtering out any team that has not played at least 11 games, I think it was, something like that. Because, of course, you can have a team in there where there's only one game, and they won it for some reason, and so they're just as good as Nebraska. No. And Nebraska was, at least. I think that's in the instructions here. We'll have to determine that. 10 or more games. There we go. Right. I don't think that there's anybody that played 10 games. 11 was standard back then. Okay. So questions on that setup? All right, then. I'm going to crowdsource this. Help me out. What should I do first?
Should we create like an instance variable?
Okay, so for which, teams or games first?
Probably teams.
Okay, let's go ahead and process this file. So how do you want to process the file? Do you want to open it, open, go for each row, or read it all in and explode it and get every single line? Let's do it line by line just to get some practice here. So remember, to open up a file, it's going to be open. Right? Is that big enough for everybody? All right. Equals open. Right? And I'm in the current working directory here, so I'm going to open up the teams.csv. Now, if you really wanted to, you could go ahead and RTM or go out and look it up. There are CSV utilities available in PHP, so you could open up a specific CSV file, and then it would take care of everything for you. It might fail because of the particular format here is telling you exactly how many that you need to process, so it's not, and there's no header here, so it might not conform to that. Your mileage may vary. Anyway, I want to open it up for the purposes of reading. All right. So let's process the teams.csv file. ... All right. I'm going to read that first line. Why am I going to read that first line? Because then that means that I know exactly how many other lines to process. So the first line equals, what is it to read a line again? F. Do you remember or do you forget? All right, good. So I got that line, and I want to convert it into an integer, num teams. I could go n is equal to, how do I convert to an integer in PHP? Int val, line, right? But I'm not going to call it n. That's a terrible variable name. It represents what? Num teams, right? And now I'm going to process every line after that. So this is going to just be a traditional for loop because I know exactly how many iterations I'm going to go. So I is equal to 0, I is less than num teams I plus plus, right? Okay. I like it so far. Right. I chose the light mode. You can choose that. There are several different themes, including dark mode. I'm not going to bother changing over it right now, but anyway.
Mine changed my Visual Studio to all light,
You're not liking that?
Yeah, because I had it downloaded even though I barely ever use it.
Yeah, that's another good point. You can sync with your Visual Studio if you use Visual Studio, the full desktop app.
When I tried to log into the web-based version, it just like kept refreshing, so like initializing and then it refreshed again. I managed to get it open in like the actual IDE, but now I couldn't.
And I'm going to have to go back, by the way, and make sure that all the libraries that we use in Computer Science 1 are installed. And if not, I'm going to have to put in some requests. That's always dangerous because then they know that you're using their stuff. Yeah.
Can you put your things in CS50 into
Yeah, there's migration instructions if you want. I think the migration instructions were just zip it up, copy it over, and unzip it. Who cares, right? I don't have anything on the CS. This is demo crap from the last 4 or 5 years. So I'm okay with throwing it all away. Anyway, so for each line, let's go ahead and get the next line. So line is equal to forgets h, right? And don't forget to close your resources. So if you're going to use Fopen to do this, you might as well use for close to close it after you're done. Now, to process each line, remember that it is a CSV file, but there are only 2 tokens, right? So, oops, go back over here. Tabs within tabs within tabs within tabs. All right, so I want those 2 tokens. So tokens, right, is equal to, how do I split out a string in PHP? In Java, it would be split. In C, it would be tokenize. How do I tokenize in PHP? I could do preg split, or the simpler version is explode it line. Right? And I forget, is it delimiter, then that? I believe that's what it is. PHP explode. I don't know. Is there any documentation that will pop up here? Nope. That's asking a bit much, I guess. All right, so there's the separator, and then there's the string. So I was correct. The separator, the delimiter, is a comma. So the first token is the UUID. The second token is the team name. Since in games I will be looking things up as far as the UUID goes, here's a way that I'm going to represent my teams. So first of all, I need teams. It's going to be an array. But remember, in PHP, we don't have arrays, we have associative arrays. And so what I can do is I can say teams sub tokens sub 0, that's the UUID, will map to tokens of 1. Right? And that's going to be a map from the UUID to the team name. Right? What's another way that I could have done this? I could have made a class. So let's review how to do that instead. Class, team, right? And what is a team? A team is going to have a UUID. Right? What else? And let's make it private or public, either one. A name.
Number of points.
Scored and then scored against. Points scored, private, points against. I was hoping that those would line up with the exact same number of characters, but oh well. Again, agains. What else? Number of wins and losses, right? Private, wins, private, loss. Right? Losses, but I want those to line up too. Okay? So if I want to create a team, it would be I need a constructor, right? So public construct, what was it? Underscore, underscore, remember that's the magic method, right? Construct. I don't have, do I have the notes up? No, I don't have the notes from last time, but they've been pushed to GitHub. So construct. And then you can take whatever you want. In this case, if I construct a team, I'm just going to go ahead and simply construct it with a UUID and the name, because I have to process a different file to find the wins, the losses, the points scored, and the points against. So I'm going to go ahead and take a UUID and, by the way, UUID, what does that stand for?
Unique identifier.
Universally unique identifier. It's a cryptographically generated unique identifier with the property is that there's an extremely low probability that any two people at any point in the history of mankind, at any point on the globe, would be able to generate the same UUID. That's why we like it, because it is universally unique, right? And there's algorithms to generate this, right? UUID and the name, okay? And this UUID will equal to that UUID, and this name will equal to that name. I should also initialize everything else, right? This wins we'll start it out at 0. This loss will start out at 0. This points scored started at 0, and this points against will be 0. Okay? So I've created my team here. Okay? Instead of just using this map, let's go ahead and create an actual team. Right? So team is equal to new team, and then we'll give it the tokens of 0 and tokens of 1. Right? The UUID and the team name. Once I've got that team, I'm going to have to store it. So team, one way of doing that is simply just to say team. Right? A more useful way of doing this would be to take these two ideas of a map, an associative array, and an object, and combine them together. Let's go ahead and map a UUID to a team. Why would that be a good thing? Because ultimately, I want the team, and if I've got the UUID, I can simply use that to look up the team in order to set its wins, losses, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to go ahead and map that UUID to the team that I just created. Right? Now, to understand that, let's go ahead and print our teams. Right? And also make sure that it actually works for now. I shouldn't have called it hello, but whatever. Right? All right, 11. Now we start debugging. Public function, right? Function keyword in PHP. Otherwise, this looks good, right? So do you see what it looks like? It's a team object. There's Iowa. They have 0, 0, 0, 0. Thank goodness. Any Iowans? Any Hawkeyes? Hawkeye families? All right. Fine, 335C. Indeed, that is Iowa. All right. So I'm convinced that this works, and we are tokenizing, we are mapping a UUID to an actual team here. Right? Now, this is because this is how how print R works. If I wanted to, say, have a different format here, what is it? Public function, and then if I want a different format to output it to a string, it would be toString. And I can return, say, just the team name. This name. Right? Let's see what that looks like now. Well, it's not going to make any difference for print R, but if you do it differently, if you actually print out the team for each team and then print it out, it would just print out the team name instead. Right? We'll come back to that if we want it. But otherwise, I've processed all the teams. I'm convinced I've processed all the teams. Miami, Florida. Looks like that was the last one, so we're good to go. Now, let's process the actual games. Same idea. In fact, a lot of this is going to be copy, pasta. don't do that in general, right? But for this quick demo, it's going to be okay. So games, and not num teams. It's going to be num games, and games as an array. Do we need to store all the games? I'm just going to look at the games, look at who won, points scored, points against, and update 2 records, right? Forget about, storing them. Who cares? Okay. So I've exploded it, but it's no longer just 2 tokens now. What is it going to be? 4 tokens. Away, UUID, so away, UUID, comma, away, score, home, UUID, home, score. Right? So that's what the tokens look like. I should probably put that above. There we go. All right. So let's get all of those things. Away, UUID. I like putting them into variables so that I can read about them. Instead, up here, all I did was tokens of 0, tokens of 1, because it was quick and dirty. Here, I'm actually going to be using this stuff. So let's put them into sensible variable names. Away UUID will end up being the tokens of 0. Home UUID will be tokens of 2, because away score will end up being an int val of tokens of 1. Football, there's no such. Is there any sport where you can have a fraction of a point? I can't think of any. Right. 3 people are now watching, so if you have any ideas of fractional sports out there, let me know. Home score, and that will be 3. Right. So I've got all 4 of those tokens. Now let's outline what I want to do with those tokens. I want to get the home team, right? I want to get the away team, right? Once I've got the home team, I'm going to increment its score against, or score and its points for against, there we go. I want to increment the points for against for the away team. And also I want to increment a win or a loss, depending on who won. There are no ties in NCAA football in 1997. There are ties and have always been, at least always been in NFL. Regular season play, certainly. Postseason play, there are no ties. Right? As poor, who's the Bills quarterback? I watched that game. It was amazing. Okay, no football fans here at all? All right, fine. Oh, Vikings? Okay. From Minnesota? Oh, no.
It's funny because now I'm basically watching the same team during the college football season and the NFL season because they both lose by 1 score like every single game, score game.
Yeah. Well, this last weekend, almost every score was a 1-score game. It was a great weekend of football, whether you were rooting for a team or not. But I only slightly root for Mahomes, so I was most of the games I was only rooting against somebody. That's the true sportsmanship. All right, so let's get the home team. And because I designed my map up here to be a UUID mapping to a team, it's going to be super easy. All I have to do is ask, give me the team with that UUID, home UUID. Right? I can do it with the away team. There we go. And there we go. Okay. So I've got my 2 team objects here now. I'm going to go ahead and go down here and do an if statement. Let's take care of the wins and losses first. So if the home score, was it the home score? Yeah. Is greater than the away score, then that means that the home team won. And what should I do? Home team dot win plus plus, and this is not PHP code yet, away team dot loss plus plus. Otherwise, it'll be flipped. Okay? So is that how I access the wins and the losses that I had up here? Wins and loss. Nope. I need an arrow, but more to the point, guess what? They're private. Yep, let's go ahead and generate getters. Now, or you can go back and say, all right, a quick and dirty solution would be to make them all public, right? Resist the temptation. Do it proper, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to public function. I'm never going to take away a win. I'm never going to take away a loss. So instead of a general getter where I have getters and setters where I have to get the number of losses simply just to add one and then add it back in, 3 steps, I'm going to go ahead and have add win. Right? This wins plus plus. You can do that. I'm going to go ahead and have add loss. Public function. Now what about score? I can't just add 1 point. That would mean I'd go into a loop to add 45 points if they scored 45. No way. So add score. And then I'm going to take the points. And this point, what was it, points for or points scored, plus equals points. And add score against whatever you want, and then it was points scored, points against. There we go. Right. That's a nice interface because now it's only a one-liner for everything, right? Is that all good? It's all public. We'll find out if it works or not. So, home team, add win. Was it add win or add wins? Probably should be, yeah, add win. Right? And this will be add loss. Right? Else, I will just flip those two. So this will be add loss, and this will be add win. Because there are no ties. Not soccer. Right? Well, it is. There are ties in regular season. Extraordinarily rare, but whatever. All right. Well, we can go ahead and see if I at least have all the syntax correct, and I do. We still need to add the scores, though, right? So for the home team, we'll add score. And how many points? Well, the number of points the home score, right? Home team, add score against, was it? Against, okay. And then that's the away score. And then all we have to do is flip those for the away team. The away team, the away score, and then scores against the home team for the away team. Good so far? All right. Let's go all the way down to the bottom here. That was our debugging code. We'll take it out later on. All right. Wow, we're breezing by here. We're going to get done with our final in less than half the time that I allotted for it last year. But we're doing it in PHP. All right, so let's go ahead and format this table now. Team, win-loss, percentage, and point difference. So I'm going to go ahead and steal this header here because I don't like typing. Ah, come on. That's preview for you. Can I at least get that part? There we go. Team. All right, print F. All right, team, and then the rest of this stuff. Probably only want an actual hyphen there and the line. All right, and then we can, for each team, as UUID mapping to the team object, right? I'm going to go ahead and format it. In fact, I could go ahead and printf and pull all that stuff out, right? Or what I could do is go back to my toString method and format it like this to begin with. Right? So, I just want one line. All right, let's go back over here to the toString method. And I'm going to go ahead and format this as a sprintf. I'm going to return a string, right? And the format is going to be the team name. What else was in there? The wins, %D for losses. And then within that, the win percentage, so %F. And then point differential, right? It's the point differential. So %D there as well. And then end the line. All right. So this is this name, this wins and losses, wins, this loss, and then wins divided by loss, wins divided by losses plus wins. Divided by this plus this. There we go. I'll use that. And then this is the point differential. So this will also be a difference. This points scored, what was it called? Points scored. Minus this points against. Okay? And now down here, I don't have to do think about it at all. All I have to do is print team. And we're done. Do I have an endline character that I need to take care of?
Not an inline character. I think in your quick string, the first, what's supposed to be the name is a %D instance.
Oh, thank you. You're right. Should be S to format a string. All looks good except for the fact that we're going to the next line. Why? Because we never chomped it when we read in the team stuff. So this will be trim, the team name. We don't have to trim the scores because when we convert it to an integer, it ignores that endline character. And this will look a little bit better. Right, there we go. Division by 0. Remember, if they have 0 wins, 0 losses, right? I added them, right? This wins, losses, wins. So this might end up being 0 for some team if they're not represented. All right? That's okay because remember, you're only supposed to report teams that played 10 or more games. So we've got some more work to do here, right? Before we go printing them all, let's filter, right? So for each, well, here, I'll do this, right? I could put an if statement right here, right? If the number of games is greater than 10, then do it here. But I want to take them out entirely because ultimately my last step is going to be to sort them, right? And I don't want to be sorting things that I don't even need to worry about. So let's go ahead and remove things that don't have more than 10 wins. So if team dot, or no, now I do need a getter here. Get total games, right, is less than, or was it 10 or more, or 10 or more? Okay, so strictly less than 10. Then I want to remove this team. ... Right? Well, first of all, let's go ahead and implement that setter there. Let's come back up here and public function get total number of games, return this wins plus this loss. And that tells me that I can probably replace some other code here that I was using like this, right? Get total games. So as you're designing your own objects, think about the interface that you want. What kind of functionality would be useful to me Go ahead and give it to yourself as a gift, right? I want a way to get the number of total games played or whatever, right? All right, go ahead and put it in there, right? It's your class. You can do whatever you want with it, right? All right, and if it is less than 10, then we want to remove the team. How do I remove something from an array? Do you remember? So we can set variables. To delete variables, we can unset them. Unset teams with that UUID. And it's effectively removed from that associative array. Yeah?
Can't you do that in C?
No, you can, because an array is a fixed length, right? And so if you remove something, you've effectively got a gap. Now in Java, if you've got a list or a set or a map or something like that, dynamic data structures, absolutely. You can remove and add stuff. It'll grow, shrink automatically. Later on, when we get into the data structures and algorithms portion of this course, we'll be designing a list to do that. And we'll see that under the hood, there's still this array here. It's just that we take all the headache and bookkeeping of filling in that gap, and we do it for you, right, in the design of the class itself. That's classic encapsulation. We're encapsulating a complexity inside of a class so you don't have to worry about it. Right? Let's try this again. Right. Oh, I took them all out? Get total games. I wish there were a proper debugger, or at least I knew how to use a proper debugger for PHP. This wins plus this loss. I'm doing it after I process the file, right? Yeah. Unset teams, UUID. I end up removing everything, apparently. I only want to do that one, though. Why? All right, fine. I will take this logic, and I'll simply apply it down here. I just won't print those that have less than 10. So I need to update this. So if it's greater than or equal to 10 wins, then we're good. Oops. No, okay. Get total games. So add win, add loss. I'm pretty sure that this should work. I mean, it was registering them before. You see this? Proof, right? Does anybody see my? So it's not this. Anybody see my error? This wins plus this lost. Get total games. Aw, darn it. Okay. Or true. Let's go ahead and print everything. Yeah, I'm doing that on purpose to verify that that we are getting those wins and losses in there.
Can you print total games, get total games with the print team?
I could. I'll do it in like this. And this get total games. We were cooking along so well. 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. What the heck? It should, because I am. These are always an int, and I'm always adding 1 to it. And oh, you're right.
It's not 10, is it? Is it 10?
Probably reading.
Good point. So let's go back to our. Okay. There it is. Line 64. I committed a cardinal sin when I wrote this code. What did I do? I copy-pasted. That's why we don't copy pasta. Num games, num teams. I was only reading the first 145 teams, or games, excuse me. I was pretty sure that everybody had at least one game represented there. But anyway, there we go. That fixed it. All right. Now I'm pretty sure that this code will work, and we don't have to worry about this code right here. But I've been wrong before, clearly. All right. There we go. I don't see anybody with like a bad number. All 11s. There's a 12. 11s. When I produced this data, I did take out all postseason games, so they're all only regular season games. So now I'm going to go ahead and go back and take out that debugging code there. All right, I am satisfied that we at least have our data here correct, but it is not in the order that we expected. So let's sort it before we print all this stuff out. So sort. Teams, is that going to work? Come on, all the way up there. Well, it did. It sorted somehow, right? Does it know how to sort teams though? Nope. Instead, we want a user-defined sort, right? Which means we've got to make that function. So we need to make a comparator function. Function, CMP team, right? And we take two teams, A and B. Right? Now the way that we're going to order them is by win percentage here. Right? So if their win percentage is better, then they go first. But if they have the same win percentage, then we break ties by looking at the point difference there. And since Nebraska scored 126 more points, point differential, than did Michigan, that's why they were the national champions in 1997. Right? Remember, always live your past glory. Especially if that's all you have. All right, so we need the win percentage, which tells me that, is there a way of getting that easily? Nope. Because to even compute that, what I do is I do that internally. So let's go ahead and make a function to do that. Get win percentage. There we go. You can always go back and redesign your objects, right? If you want some fancy bells and whistles thrown on there, go ahead and do it. It's your choice. Return this. There we go. So get the win percentage. If A's win percentage is greater than B's win percentage, then return something negative, right? Else if, and I'm going to, again, get myself into trouble by copy pasta. Otherwise, if it's the other way around, then return something positive. Don't write plus. It's perfectly syntactically correct if you do, but don't do it. Else, we got ourselves a tie. 11-0 and 11-0. So what do? I go to point differential. Is there an easy way of computing that? No, because I did it internally. So give yourself that gift. Get win differential. And public function get win differential. Now you might be thinking, well, object-oriented programming. This is actually, PHP was not originally an object-oriented programming language, but and object-oriented programming languages get a lot of pushback because they are syntactically verbose. But think about what programming is all about. Programming is more about understanding what a program is doing rather than getting it to do exactly what you want, right? It's more, you will be reading code 10 times more, and you'll spend 10 times as much time reading code and understanding code than you will be writing code. If I did all of this mathematics, if I did all these differences and stuff like that outside of the class with these expressions instead, right, I'd really have to look closely and understand. Oh, you're computing the point differential there. Right? No, this is not a wind differential. This is a point differential. Right? There we go. Oh, here you're calculating the wind percentage. But by making a function with that name on it, now I can read it. Right? I can read it like plain English. If A's wind percentage is greater than B's wind percentage, I don't have to worry about pulling all those figures out and doing all the math and then losing the forest for the trees. Right? It says what it does. Right? So, else A's, if A's, what was it called? Get point differential is greater than B's, get point differential, then return something negative. Else if it's the other way around, return something positive. Oops. Else return 0. Right? If they have the exact same number of wins and they have the exact same point differential, you'll have to go to some other stat to break that tie. All right? Say again?
Before you run, you missed like a code word on the also.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, here? Thank you. All right. It's because it keeps entering them when I don't want them to enter. That looks good. Here's a tip. You could probably get rid of this block by simply taking the difference, return. So if this is greater, it's positive, so we not want them backwards. So this should be A, and this should be B, right? Because if B's is greater, then they are out of order. No, we want A and B. We'll find out here in a second. We actually run it. All right. Now, when I cover searching and sorting in Computer Science 1, I tell you not to do this. This is called the difference trick, right? And I tell you not to do this because it's prone to overflow, underflow. In this particular case, is there ever going to be a football team that has scored more than 2.147 billion points? No. So you're safe with the difference trick in this case. Okay, and by the way, it's a 64-bit PHP system, so it's not. It's 2 to the 63rd minus 1 points that you'd have to worry about underflow, which is even more ridiculous. Right? I also note that it was not aligning very well, so let's go ahead and take care of that. I'll go ahead and align this with 30 characters, this with 2, this with 2. I also want this to be positioned to the left, and I think that that's good. Let's see what that looks like now. 47. What am I doing in 47? Thank you. There we go. Otherwise, everything is... Yep, that looks good. Some superfluous parentheses, but so be it. 134. What am I doing down there now? Oh, come on, what? Oh, well, I, of course, need to call that function, right? CMP team. CMP team or teams? Yep, teams, team, whatever. Oh, this is going to be a hunt and peck if you're going all the way to the end of the file. I missed somebody somewhere. That one's closed. Oh, let's start at the top. That one's good. Matched. Matched. And that's why. All right. There we go. Illinois. Bad. Michigan. They won. No, they didn't. They weren't champions. I just screwed up the order on my comparator. All right, there we go. So, Nebraska, 11-0. 100 perfect season with 329 points. Yup. 203 points on Michigan, point differential on Michigan. Rutgers, there, that's who I expected to be last. Rutgers, pre-Big Ten Rutgers, I believe, at a negative 305. And then it's Northern Illinois, also winless of the season, 253 though. Is Northern Illinois a Power 5? What's conference of Northern Illinois? All right, nobody knows.
Does Rutgers even exist?
Oh yeah, yeah, they're in the Big Ten. Yeah.
Yeah, they still really bad.
They're better than us. Rutgers football 2021 season record. Scarlet Knights, 5-8. They're better than us. Nebraska. What was ours? 3 and 9. Yeah. So. I don't think we played them, did we? What's their record? I don't know what the record. Big Ten. Score. No. Fine. Where's the actual schedule? Their schedule and results. Michigan. Nope, they did not play us. Had they played us, would we have won? You know, before every game, I was I looked up the lines, and I was always like, man, what are they smoking that we're gonna get that close? They were right almost every single time. Bookies know what they're doing. Don't second guess bookies. All right. So we did the entire troubleshooting, everything in 50 minutes there from our final exam last semester. I guess you had FizzBuzz, but I told you that was going to be on there, and that should have just been automatic. Do we want to do any more exercises? Yes? No? Here's a homework from 3 years ago. We could do isotope half-life. I did this in the other class, but in Java. All it is computing radioactive decay of a radioactive isotope over its half-life. We could do a suffix array. This should be no more than 10 lines of code, though. A suffix array is simply just take a string and then break it down into suffixes and then sort them and print them out. I bet you we could do it before 3 o'clock if you want to try. Yeah. All right, and all bets are off now.
Well, in PHP, dude. Right, because you gotta. Does PHP. Can PHP measure the length of an array?
Yeah, count
Okay.
is the length of an array. You can use the same thing for a string to get the number of characters in it,
Okay.
or you can just use strlen because it's just a thin wrapper to the C library. Yeah. All right, let's see. Touch. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't remember if we covered last time, but is it practical to have multiple classes in PHP?
Yes. So, in fact, all right, so let's take a detour here. I'm not going to hold myself to completing this by 3 o'clock then, though. But, let's go back over here. So I called this hello, I shouldn't have. But what you can do is you can take everything that's associated with a team, get rid of it, and let's put it into a team.php file, separating it out. There we go. All right. And we'll want to make this into a PHP file. There we go. And end it. All right. And now in the other file, just like C, you would include. Now here's the kicker. It's going to be include once. There is an include. I'll talk about what this means here in a second. It's not a hash though. Include teams.php or team.php. There we go. And it'll work just the same. It'll bring that file in. Now why include once? Because if you include the same, if this file over here includes team, and then this file over here includes team, and then you include both of these files, now you've got a conflict. So what this does is include it once, And so when you include it up here, it says, okay, well, you mean the same thing. We're not going to include it multiple times. We won't have a conflict. Now, you have the same issue in C. If you were to include a file that had conflicts, or usually in a hierarchy, this includes foo, and then this includes that, and so by transitivity, you're including foo up here, but then you also include foo. It's a redefinition, and the compiler doesn't like that. So what you do is in C, you wouldn't use include once. Instead, you would use C include guards. And if you were ever using an IDE, they sometimes automatically generate these things. Let's look at Wikipedia. Yeah, include guard. It looks something like, where is it? If defined. If not defined, then include this, and then this is just a marker in your header file. Then go ahead and define it, and this is what you include. End that if. These are preprocessor directives. And then by including it, you can include it once, and if it's already defined in another file because you already included it once, then it won't include it again. So these are what are called include guards. And as an aside, it's also the #1 red flag for cheating, because we never cover it in CS1. When we see it, oh, what are you? So you got this off the internet, or you got somebody who knew what they were doing because this include guard was not necessary. It's not an automatic. They were cheating. It's just a red flag, and then. They included this include guard. I can use Google too, and search for code that included that include guard, and bingo, I found what you copied off of, right? So that's a behind-the-scenes process there. But anyway, that's how you include once. We're now down to 3 minutes. Can we do it? Science. All right. How do I get suffixes? Equals, an array. Right. Now I want a substring, right? So for I equals 0, start at the first character. I is less than strlen of s, I plus plus, right? I want a substring, so substring will be substring of s starting at I, right? And I only want to, I just want to add that to suffixes, so suffixes, there, that adds it to the end. Sort suffixes and print R. This is going to be a really quick and dirty way of doing it. PHP suffixes. Suffix. Which one should it be? What is the proper spelling of suffixes? Suffixi. Yeah! 2 minutes to spare. Of course, now I can go back and make it nicer, right? I can, instead of printing it out in a readable format, for each suffixes as, index mapping to word or suffix, print f %s, and the line word, and that'll print it in a nicely formatted manner. And is that correct? Science, yep. And then you can go back and modify this so that you take in a command line argument instead, argv sub 1, and science. Right. Same thing there. What about computer science? Uh-oh, it's only going to do computer. Exactly. So how can you use white space in a command line argument? Surround it with quotations. There. Right. And, wow, almost 1 minute to spare, and I'm done with that homework. All right, no more than, I said 10 lines of code if I take out all the white space. Yeah, 9 lines of code. Excellent. Good estimate. All right, any questions? Otherwise, that was just a really quick challenge exercise. Why are you complaining about, what is this? All right. All right. There's also nice fun playing with a new toy here. You of course have Python 3.10. Ooh, nice. PHP version is going to be 7.4. Java version is going to be 17, I think it was when I checked it. Yep. 17. Yeah.
So if you're using the actual application for the VS Code, is it like it's all a virtual environment, correct? So you don't
Well, if you use the desktop app, then it's like Eclipse, and it lives on, but you can also sync it to. Do you have to have a Microsoft account?
I see log in with GitHub.
Yeah.
And then it just
Even the desktop client, you log in with your GitHub credentials.
So it like opens a .VS Code file or something. I think it said like so from your browser, it'll open VS Code, and it's like it's basically connecting to their server. So it's almost like you're running CS50.
Right.
Like the same way it was in the browser, but like.
Oh, so the desktop app is not actually a full desktop app. It's like a.
So if you, like, you can obviously run VS Code like as a full desktop app, like just normally if you have
Right.
it in your system, but like.
So shut off your internet connection and you can still use it.
Yeah, but when you're running like the CS50 version, when you want to go into like they call it like a code space,
Uh huh.
then it's like this, it looks basically the exact same as what you have there, where it has like that identifier that says code spaces, and then like
Okay.
you have files that are stored on the CS50 side.
Cool. These are stored on GitHub, probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a GitHub repo right now under code space or whatever. Whatever. But yeah, it's good. Back when Microsoft bought GitHub, there was a lot of, it's Microsoft. But I can't believe what they've done to endear themselves with the community. They have done a fantastic freaking job with their stewardship of GitHub, and people thought they were going to monetize it, and it was going to go down. Exactly the opposite. They seem to have invested a lot of money without a dollar back at all. I've not used an actual, I guess my Office and Teams and stuff like that, but I've not paid anything for a Microsoft product for a long time, but good on them. All right. Any questions? Otherwise, this bash, what do I have here? Okay, that just allows you to do another terminal. PS. Okay, it's a bash, which TC shell. Oh, nope, you can't. No TC shell. Nope. C shell? Nope. Shell? Yep, but that you don't want that. There we go. Yeah. What else could you possibly want on your command line? What?
Debugging the
There is a GDB instance. There's also Valgrind. Nice. Which Java, full Java implementation too, and including all the tools. I don't know how would it do with Markdown? Touch foo.md. Hello world. This is a paragraph. Second section. All right, can you render it? Because on GitHub, if you were to do this on GitHub, it renders. I don't see a way of rendering. Nope. Preview. There we go. Neato. Neat. This is really neat. All right. And then, yep. What about this is, oh, here. Java string s equals hello. Syntax highlighting within coding environments within a markdown environment. Good job. I'm liking this. I don't know if this is supported on the CS50 IDE or not, but whatever. My only complaint would be that you wouldn't be able to render this in another Nope. Okay.
Kinda like a notebook.
Say what?
Is that kind of like super notebook or?
Yeah, what I use Atom.io, and then I type over here, and then it renders in a separate window. But that's a plugin. That's Markdown Preview Plus.
Use like OBS to like capture a window or something.
Yeah, you could, but OBS would only, it might even do a tab in a browser. It might be smart enough to do that, but it's not going to do a tab within an app within the browser. Now, now, as long as you don't move that window around, you can configure OBS to only focus in on that one part. But but then you can never move that window around. You might be able to do it relative to a window, so that if you move the window around, the pane moves around with it. But then if you resize that window, I think that you're SOL. All right, cool. Lots of nice things today. Get to play with new toys. All right. Stay on the page. This is the real question. What's the persistence like after I go ahead and quit out of my browser and come back to it? I'll let you know. Otherwise, have a good weekend.